What are the biggest legal mistakes first-time home buyers make?
Wow. Well, I think, Jerron, you get involved in more legal discussions given that you're an attorney.
Sure.
But
I've got a few ideas, or at least one or two to start with here. I want
Shoot 'em.
to tell me if you agree with this, but I've seen many deals break down, especially deals with financing, when borrowers do not get properly vetted by lenders and or they do not have a proper financing contingency with the correct amount of time. So sometimes I'll see aggressive financing contingencies with like 15 days or less, maybe even 20 days or less. And a lot of times either the lender falls through and they're not able to approve the deal by that time, and or the borrower is just not properly vetted and pre-qualified. A lot of times these lenders will go and just use very cursory pre-qualification, and they don't take the time to actually make sure that they're qualified. And then a deal will die that way. And sometimes even an escrow deposit can be at risk if the deal is not canceled using that financing contingency. So that's one thing I see.
yeah, I think the biggest mistakes or the most common things that I see happen, usually not with my buyers, but when I'm representing a seller and we're under contract with a buyer's agent, is their representation, the people that they've chosen to help them do or facilitate the transaction, the buyer's agent, the lender, maybe even their attorney, they're not going into this really clear on what they can hit as far as deadlines, right? And then what makes it even worse, and this is where usually you get pulled into things, is like, well, the loan commitment period deadline was X date. Their agent didn't flag it. They weren't aware of it. They blow right by it, and now their escrow deposit's at risk. Or they drag out their inspection period and they miss their deadline. So like the biggest thing from my perspective is deadlines, right? Like your realtor, your lender, everybody who's doing this transaction with you should be very focused on these deadlines and making sure they're protecting your escrow deposit at all times. And I think that's where
that's the number one most important thing, because closing a deal is very close second. Obviously, we all want to close the deal, but not risking your escrow deposit when a deal does not close, that is key.
Yeah. If we're just talking buyers, like your biggest risk is your money. And then like, hey, actually closing the deal is like the next thing. If you need to be in a house and you're going to be homeless, like that's a big mistake as well. Not like getting that deal closed in the specific timeline.
And having a moving van sitting there on Friday because the money from the lender didn't make it to the closing agent, the title company or law firm that's handling the closing, and that moving van sitting there, and the seller won't give the keys because they didn't receive their proceeds, and then that buyer has to wait for 2 or 3 days to get the keys to the property. We've seen that happen before. That's very unfortunate. So again, coming back to lenders, a lot of times are very important parts of this process to make sure that you're working with the correct lender. And I know you work with some of the best lenders out there, and you're such a great resource for referring people on to the right vendors, which includes lenders, inspectors, et cetera.
Yeah. We've seen people just go into transactions willy-nilly, not really understanding what they're actually doing and or trusting the individuals that they've employed to help them facilitate the transaction. And again, it's just like it's lenders, it's hitting key dates within the transaction and knowing that you can actually hit them. So talk to your lender. Can you actually get this done? Have you provided the documentation that you need to the lender to get it done? Like these things are super important. And this is how we vet buyers when we have listings. When they come to the table, I'm talking to their agent, talking to their lender, trying to understand, like, do you guys have it together? And there's all these like flags in this process. There's, hey, like the lender didn't pick up the phone for 2 days when we were trying to negotiate a deal. The agent is aloof and unresponsive or clearly like not knowledgeable. And we're evaluating that and we're saying, okay, this buyer is likely to back out or fail or fall apart or we're going to end up in some legal dispute because they're just like don't have their act together. So we're trying to like look at those things. But
yes, and if I'm a seller and I see that there's a buyer, I've got 2 offers, let's say, and one buyer is using one of these brick and mortar lenders, one of the big banks that are out there. We all know the names. I'm not going to throw the names out here, but all the big banks versus someone who's using an actual mortgage lender. That's all they do and specialize in mortgages. I'm certainly going to choose the contract if it's more or less the same offer, same amount, and same other numbers. I'm going to choose the one that's using that mortgage lender. That's what they do, not one of these brick and mortar lenders, because I've seen them not really care about deadlines as well. These huge banks, they have 5, 6, 7 different people touching a file, and they just blow through contractual deadlines, and it's not great. So I've witnessed that many times. I'm sure you have as well.
100%.
Yeah.